So I put these two topics here, and I'm gonna go talk about them. Not really anything prepared, so I'm just gonna go into these two topics, which are very interconnected in a sense. Um, so the power of long-term thinking and baby stepping. That was something that I personally used in my own journey, and I noticed that that lacks in a lot of people. So I probably found that this could be very helpful for you guys to get these insights. So what does it mean to have long-term thinking? I think if you guys heard about what to be means to be like a visionary, you know, someone that has a vision, something that wasn't still manifested, but you are aiming towards, you put your mind up to this vision, and then you work towards that vision every day. But what happens with a lot of people is that they lose themselves in the short term gratification or short term comfort, and they don't develop really that vision for themselves. They don't have a defined vision, like what do I want to achieve, like what's my purpose in life. And because they don't have like something really defined, what happens is like, if you don't have a vision, you'll end up being in someone else's vision. You'll be part of someone else's vision. You work to someone that had a vision. So this is crucial to have that, because in a lot of ways, once you're trying, for example, to meet women, if your goal is the women, that's a huge problem, because you're making them your purpose. And you make women your purpose, that's very unattractive. It's like saying you're very small and you just care about a pussy to put your dick in. That's very unattractive. So a woman doesn't like a man that makes them the focus of their life. So in that sense, if you have something bigger than to look towards, or a vision to look towards for the future, that's beyond women or beyond even yourself, then you won't get caught up in these short-term fears or short-term, uh, maybe more convenient decisions that you could make, but you always be looking up to what you want upfront 30 years down the line. Or wait, who's someone texting here? To meet women, go talk to Mermaid about the weather. The fuck? Okay. So anyways, um so this is something that I'm not saying for you guys to be a visionary. Not everyone should be a visionary. Not everyone was meant to have these great visions or whatever. But I think it's always good to kind of think, okay, like for myself, if anything was possible, like if I didn't impose these limitations on myself, like if I didn't say like, oh, this is only what's possible because this is what I see commonly around me, like the average person, like, so we shouldn't make our own standards to the average person that we meet on the street or our average friend. You should make standards that are beyond your current understanding, you know, like beyond your current even belief that you are capable of, you know, because once you put your mind to that standard, then you'll find ways to become the person that would deserve that higher standard. But if you don't, you just end up losing yourself in the short term, feeling good. Like even if you go out and meet women, you might meet a woman that it's more attractive than you usually meet, and then you just get lost in her instead of focus on a vision. You just get lost in that woman, and then you just lose yourself. And like a lot of guys do, they get in these relationships because they're coming out of scarcity, and so they get in the relationship, and then eventually they just slack off and give up on life. And then the woman that was attracted once to them no longer is attracted to them, because they became like a shell version of themselves, because they made their purpose. So I think that's something for to think about. Baby stepping. Yeah, I think this is like something that I've noticed in a lot of guys that I work with and other people, is that usually we are way too stubborn and way too arrogant or delusional to take steps back, you know, and start smaller and be a little bit humble. And it's like, okay, I can't push myself to do this, but I can get a little bit, challenge myself a little bit today. It doesn't need to be like this crazy thing. Like if you are too scared to talk to a woman or be direct to a woman, at least do something. Like it's better to get some momentum, like asking directions. Like me personally, I can share a little bit about my story. Like I took in the first 3 or 4 months to approaching people. I approached old ladies for 4 months, and like old people in the street, like asking the time or directions, or asking what's their favorite color or whatever. And I was able to do this for 4 months because I didn't care about this short term thing that I'm doing. I was looking up to where this strategy that I was applying would take me in the long term, you know. So once I'm able to see clearly where I'm going, it doesn't matter if I have to ask the time to 100 old ladies, because I know where I'm going. I'm not, I'm able to be patient, to take the steps that I need to take, and not psych myself and try to take quantum leaps. And instead of that, I just humble myself, and like I start very small, and things that challenge me enough for me to do it, but not too much that it becomes a huge challenge. Someone is commenting here, do like Jordan Peterson's, to happen will happen thanks to the actions you need to take, or the other one is the hell that you fall into because you failed to do what you needed to do. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, that's a good thing as well, like using the kind of contrast. If you are able to picture how you would be like if you follow through with your, with every day, with momentum, and keep yourself consistent. Doesn't matter. The key point is like it doesn't matter if you keep yourself consistent to be like always on like perfect, because a lot of times we judge ourselves because we weren't perfect, or we didn't do everything right, and then either that or we just block it off, like we don't analyze what we did wrong because we want to protect our own egos. So we ignore that or blame the circumstances or the girls or whatever we blame. So it's the most important thing is like not being too arrogant to not take action, or to wanting to take action on things that maybe are too out there for you at this moment, and being more humble about where you actually at in your journey, and start smaller. If you can't do this, if you can't do whatever you are trying to do, take a notch back, start smaller, and then build up to that slowly. Because it's better to take a notch back and then build up momentum than in trying to do something that's still too hard for you, and then you are just like having this huge battle, and then eventually you just give up because you can't hold the consistency to take that consistent action with whatever you're trying to do. So if you cannot approach a woman in the beginning of your day or whenever you go out, well, try to approach some random person. Like Chris was saying, like try to approach some other person and ask them about the weather or the directions or something, like get some social momentum. And then when you get to see a woman, you already had some conversations with people, so you're not completely like out of it. And then it's much more likely for you to approach her, instead of like the mind making all kinds of excuses for not doing it. So I think it comes down to every day not being entitled to anything. Be like, okay, today's a new day. Let me see where I'm at, and let me see what I can do today. But at the same time, you gotta challenge yourself a little bit more every day. so you don't stagnate in some like comfort zone. Let's say some people create this comfort zone outside of their comfort zone. So maybe guys can approach a girl, but now his comfort zone is that he only can approach a girl and get her number. And then there is a lot of guys doing that, like they just go and try to get as many numbers. So at that point, that guy has to find something to push himself. If you already can get numbers, but maybe the girls are flaking on him, maybe you should focus on other things. So that's as well, you have to become your own teacher, like your own coach, and see like, and at most important is being honest to yourself about where you're at and being consistent and not psyching yourself with excuses. uh, Getting yourself out there, mostly like getting yourself, walk out the fucking house, and then don't ask too much of yourself. Ask just, okay, let me just get some momentum going at first. Like when you go out, don't try to go to the hottest girl or to the most difficult situation. Just, okay, let me try to do something easier first. And then when you get a couple of conversations with some guys or whatever, or old lady, it's much easier to you to then approach a woman, and you're already kind of in a social mood, in a social momentum. And then if you do this every day, you see the difference would make you after 1 year, between trying to approach women for 1 year and approaching sometimes don't approaching because of excuses or whatever, or not going out because of a bunch of rationalizations. And between that and just going every day out and starting small, starting asking directions to someone or whatever, and then approaching women eventually that day, and every day you do that, you see the compound effect of doing that. Like how different would you be in 1 year if you go 365 days every day out, and you just push yourself a little bit more outside of your comfort zone? How much different would you be? Like, you don't know, like, wait, yeah, what is motivating me is where I will end up in 10 years from now if I do not change. Exactly. I mean, that's another thing as well. It's like, because the compound effect doesn't work only for positive, like to take action. It works in the other way around as well. Whatever current traits and current blind spots and beliefs you have, every day that passes by, they're being stronger. Whatever weird things you do when you approach, that you're not even aware of, when you approach the girls, it becomes even stronger. Whatever you're doing wrong, it becomes more of that. So if you see the momentum this way, it's like you have to really apply yourself a lot to shift this momentum, because your current way of being has its own momentum. Your current beliefs, your current identity, they all have their own momentum. So it's not like you are just going out and meeting women, you are fighting this momentum as well, because your ego wants it to keep the momentum going, it wants to stay the same. So you have to battle these forces within yourself that tend to hold you in place. They will tend to hold you in your current reality, in wherever it feels comfortable. It has been all its life, basically. So it's like you having this big battle within yourself. And if you want to win, you want to shift the momentum, you have to really take it seriously. You got to make it your religion. It's not enough to want to be a little bit better or want to be good enough. You have to fucking want it badly, because you will have days where you doubt yourself. You will have days where you feel like shit. You will have days where you don't know why you're doing this. You have days where you're like, why am I wasting my time walking down the street? Like, you will all have these days. Like, this is gonna always happen. But if you don't have that, if you're not aligned and you know why you're doing it, you know what's where you're getting, if you keep going, like what's the final purpose. If you know this very clearly, it doesn't matter how bad some days will be, because you always get up and keep going. You don't give up. Because let's be honest, like most people, they give up whenever things get tough, whenever they feel a little bit bad, some adversity comes in, people just retreat into their shell. So if you don't want to be like that, you have to be really clear. So why am I doing this? Like, what is the person that I want to become? Why I want to be this person? What would it change? What would it change? And like Philip said, what will be so bad if you don't do it? Like, how will you be in 10 years if you didn't take and if you didn't change? Are you gonna be proud of that person? Are you gonna be like, fuck yeah? Or are you gonna be like, fuck, I wasted all this time and I didn't do anything? And it seems so fine because like I always told myself like tomorrow I do it, tomorrow I do it, tomorrow I do it, and then tomorrow ends up being never, and you just die, and you never know like what what you could be, what kind of person you could be. So I think it like this is I don't know if you guys have any questions what I just said, like if you feel like if you understand what I'm saying, because there is definitely I'm aware of that even with Royal, like he lives with me and I can see how much hard it is to change, because I know I've been there. I had to push through that. So I know there is a lot of forces in your own mind that will tell you to not do it, to not change, and to keep just doing the same stuff, repeating the same stuff, having the same thoughts, having the same emotions, just going, repeating the same cycles over and over again. That's how this shit works. So if you want to break the cycles, you really have to push. You have to really push because the cycles are fucking strong. The identity cycles are strong. So yeah, I mean, I think that once you get the momentum in the initial phase, the hardest part is getting this initial phase of momentum shifting, like the momentum of your current way of being, your identity, and shifting that into the new one is the hardest period. So getting this a habit, creating a habit, can take some months, especially with this, with specifically like going out, approaching women, but even any other thing really can take a couple of months, like going out every day to really become part of your daily life. And that phase is the hardest because it's the one that costs the most, because once you see some progress, you get going, and then you kind of like naturally feel inclined to keep going because you already see progress. But once until you see that progress, it's kind of like there's still some very like loud voices of doubt in your head that will try to pull you back over and over again to what you know, what's your reality, what you're used to, how many women, how much money you can make. All this shit is like there is in our own reality there is like a ceiling. We all have this ceiling, no matter how advanced we are or whatever. We all have a ceiling of success, and believe it or not, this there is a bigger fear inside of ourselves to succeed than a fear to fail, because the fear of succeed is like the fear of the unknown, the unknown. So once you break out of this roof, this ceiling, your mind will try to pull you back into what it knows, so into the comfort zone. It will try to pull you back every time that you come out of it. You have to not only what most people experience as progress usually is like they don't even go beyond the ceiling. They just feel like they're progressing, but every time they come close to the ceiling, they just go back. Ceiling, go back. Ceiling, go back. And then they feel like they're improving, but actually they're just going against the ceiling over and coming back over and over again. So you have to push through the ceiling. And that's why consistency is the only way to push through this ceiling, because it's consistency, baby stepping, and uh, putting the bar of what is a success very low. Like, what is success? What was success for me when I started was like, if I get a conversation longer than 1 minute, like if you have 1 minute and 30 seconds, I would be like, fuck yeah, that was a success. So if you make your successes small every day, small successes every day, it starts adding up. Success on top of success on top of success, small successes every day. And then it creates the winner effect. When you feel like you're always succeeding, you're always winning, okay, I'm always progressing, I'm always becoming better. And then it becomes addicting at some point. At least for me, it became addicting. And then it's like you don't know how far you can go. And if just 1% every day, if you get 1% every day better, like, you don't know what 1% actually means when it starts compounding. After 1 year, you become 365% better than you were before. In 2 years, you become 600 or whatever times better than you were before, or percent wise. So it's a huge. You can take huge leaps if you actually be patient and have small baby steps, and then of course focus on where you're going, what's your direction in your life, what are you striving for. Because if you don't know where you're going, you end up nowhere. That's how life works. You have to know exactly, like, why you're doing this, where you're going, what kind of person you want to become. You want to imagine that. You want to imagine that as you were that person right now. How that person think, how that person feel, how that person act, and start embodying that way of being, that of that person that you want to become.